When people find out I run a small business with help from a small remote team, two questions come up almost every single time. The first one is loud and easy to ask. How much do you actually pay them? The second one is quieter, and honestly, it is the more important one. People lower their voice a little and ask, isn't that just paying someone overseas next to nothing? Isn't that exploiting people? I get why both questions come up, and I do not think either one is rude. So in the next 12 minutes, I want to answer both of them honestly, with real numbers, and without the vague hand waving you usually get from people who would rather not tell you what they truly pay. One quick note before I start. This is not financial advice, and it is not a recruiting pitch. It is just how one person running a lean business actually thinks about paying the people who help him build it. And I want to take that second question seriously, not wave it away. Because if you cannot answer it honestly, then something has probably gone wrong with how you are doing this. This is not about cheap labor. Let me get the most important thing out of the way first, because it shapes everything else. The goal here is not cheap labor. I know that sounds exactly like the thing someone would say to feel better about themselves, so let me be concrete about what I actually mean. The goal is a fair wage. A wage that is genuinely good money, where the person actually lives. And that still makes sense for a small business like mine. Those two things are not in conflict. That is the entire point. A rate that would be low where I live can be a strong, competitive, genuinely sought after salary somewhere else, because the cost of living is completely different. When it works, it is a real win-win. The person gets stable, well-paid work that they are happy to keep. I get a skilled teammate I can actually count on. Neither side is doing the other one a favor. And I want to be blunt about the darker side of this, because it is real. Underpaying people is wrong. It is also, as a totally separate point, just bad business. If you squeeze someone to save a few dollars, the good ones figure out very quickly that they are underpaid and they leave. Then you are right back to hiring and training all over again, which costs you far more than you ever saved. So being fair is not charity. It is the same thing as being smart. Those two happen to point in the exact same direction here, which is convenient, but I would argue for it even if they did not. How I structure the pay. Okay, so how does the pay actually work in practice? There are really two questions bundled together here. The first is hourly versus a fixed monthly salary. The second is full-time versus part-time. Let me take them one at a time. Paying by the hour is simple and flexible. It is great when the work comes in waves, or when you are just starting out with someone, and you both want to keep things loose while you find out if it is a good fit. You agree on an hourly rate. They track their hours, and you pay for what you actually use. A fixed monthly salary is a different deal. You agree on a set amount every month for a set schedule, and that is what they earn, whether this particular week was slammed or quiet. For a long-term assistant, someone who has become a real part of how I work, I strongly prefer the steady monthly salary. And the reason is mostly about them, not about me. A fixed salary means they can plan their life. They know exactly what is coming in each month. They can pay rent and support their family without watching my workload like a hawk. That stability is a huge part of why good people stay. It is simpler on my end too. One predictable number instead of a spreadsheet full of hours, but the real value is the trust it buys. The same logic runs through full-time versus part-time. A part-time helper is perfect for a specific, contained job. A full-time person is for when you have enough steady work to genuinely feel their week and you want their focus and their loyalty in return. So here are the real numbers. Alright, the part you actually came for. The numbers. Before I say a single figure out loud, I need you to hear the disclaimer, and I need you to actually believe it. These are illustrative examples from my own experience at the time that I am recording this. They are ballparks, not a formula, and definitely not a promise. Rates move over time. They vary a lot by country, and they vary by the specific person in front of you. Please do not screenshot one of these numbers and wave it at someone as the going rate. With all of that said, here is roughly how it looks for me. An entry-level general assistant, someone handling straightforward tasks like inbox triage, scheduling, data entry, simple research, tends to land somewhere around $3 to $5 an hour. Someone more experienced or specialized, real writing ability, design, bookkeeping, anything development adjacent, is more like $6 to $10 an hour, and it climbs from there for genuine expertise. And if you turn that into a full-time monthly salary, a dedicated assistant working full-time often lands somewhere around $400 to $1,000 a month, depending on their skill and their hours. I want to sit on that word roughly for a second. These are ballparks. I have paid below these ranges for very light occasional work, and well above them for someone whose skills genuinely deserved it. The number is the start of a real conversation, not the price tag you stick on a human being. What actually moves the number? So if the range is really that wide, what decides where a specific person lands inside it? A few things, and none of them are surprising. The biggest one is skill and proven experience. Someone who has done exactly this kind of work for years and can show it is worth more than someone starting fresh, the same as it would be anywhere else in the world. The second thing is English and communication. If we are working closely in English all day long, clear writing and easy back and forth is genuinely valuable, and it is completely fair to pay for it. The third is how much responsibility and judgment the role actually carries. Someone who just follows a checklist is one thing. Someone I trust to make a decision while I am asleep, to talk to a customer, to catch a mistake before it ships, that person is operating on a completely different level, and the pay should say so. The fourth thing is time zone overlap. If I need someone whose hours line up with mine so we can actually work together in real time, that is worth paying a premium for, because it is a real constraint on their day. And the last one is simply full-time versus part-time, and how much of their week I am asking them for. More commitment and more of their availability locked to me earns more. Put simply, you are not paying for a country. You are paying for a person, their skills, and what you are actually asking them to carry for you. Do we opi adamite? The number you agree on is really only half of it. How you actually pay matters just as much, and maybe more. So here is how I try to do it. First and most important, I pay on time every single time. This sounds obvious, and it is the one thing people get wrong most often. Someone on the other side of the world who you have never met in person is trusting that the money will show up exactly when you said it would. If they ever have to chase me for their own wages, even once, I have already broken something that is very hard to build back. So payday is not flexible. It goes out when I said it would, full stop. Second, I pay through a normal, boring method, a standard bank transfer or a money transfer service that lands cleanly in their account in their own currency, without eating a chunk of it in fees. And here is a detail people get genuinely confused about. The hiring platform where I first found the person does not take a cut of their wage. You typically pay the platform a small flat fee to get access to it, but the salary itself goes straight from me to them. The platform is how we met, not a middleman skimming their paycheck forever. Third, I give raises when someone grows. If a person takes on more, gets sharper, starts owning things I used to worry about myself, their pay should move up before they ever have to ask for it. And a lot of employers, myself included, follow the local custom of a 13th month style bonus, an extra month of pay near the end of the year. It is expected in some places, it is genuinely appreciated everywhere, and it is a good thing to honor. The mistakes I see people make, now the mistakes, including a few I have made myself so that you can skip them. The first and most common one is underpaying to save money, and then paying for it in a much worse way. You find someone cheap, you feel clever for about a month, and then partway in they leave for someone who pays them what they are actually worth. Now you are hiring again, writing the job post again, doing the interviews again, and spending weeks training a brand new person up to where the last one already was. All of that time and disruption cost you far more than the small amount you thought you were saving. Cheap is usually the most expensive option in the end. The second mistake is paying late or paying unpredictably. I already said it once, but it is worth saying twice because it quietly destroys trust faster than almost anything else you can do. A person who is not sure the money will actually arrive is a person who is already, very sensibly, looking for their next job. The third mistake is the subtle one, and it is really a mindset. It is treating a person as a line item on a spreadsheet instead of a teammate. When you think of someone purely as a cost to be minimized, you make 100 small decisions that grind them down and push them out the door. When you think of them as a person whose whole life is tied to how you treat them, you make better decisions almost automatically. And it turns out those are also the exact decisions that keep good people around. So the mindset is not just a nice thing to do, it is the practical thing too. What it really costs me. Let me put the real cost right next to the real value, because this is where the whole thing finally clicks. A good full-time assistant might cost me somewhere in that few hundred to around $1,000 a month range we talked about. That is real money for a small business, and I am not going to wave it away. But look at what it actually buys me. It buys back hours of my week, every single week, all the repetitive work that used to sit on me and never end. It buys back mental load, the low constant hum of a dozen small tasks I no longer have to hold in my head. It means the handful of things that only I can do actually get my full attention instead of getting buried under a pile of admin. When I add it all up honestly, the money was never the expensive part. My own time and attention were always the expensive part, by a very wide margin. Paying a fair wage to hand off the work that does not need me is one of the best returns I get on any money I spend in the whole business. And I think a lot of people get this exactly backwards. They treat the salary as the cost to be avoided, when the real cost, the one quietly draining them every day, is all the hours they are personally spending on work that almost anyone could do. So is it even worth it? So should you actually do this yourself? Honestly, it depends, and I am not going to pretend it is right for everyone. Here is the real test. It is only worth it if you have real, definable work to hand over. By that I mean tasks you could actually describe to another human being. If you can write down what needs doing, what a good result looks like, and roughly how you would do it yourself, then you have got something you can hand off, and the whole thing can work beautifully. But if you cannot describe the task, hiring someone will not magically fix it. This is the trap I watch people fall straight into. They are overwhelmed, they are drowning, so they hire help, quietly hoping the helper will figure out what they themselves have never actually taken the time to define. That never works. You just end up with a confused, frustrated person waiting on you for direction that you cannot give, and now you feel even worse because you are paying for the privilege. So before you hire anyone, do the unglamorous work first. Write down the actual jobs. Get clear on what done really looks like. If you cannot do that yet, then the answer is not a virtual assistant. The answer is spending an afternoon getting honest about what you actually do all day. Do that part first, and hiring becomes one of the highest leverage things a small operator can possibly do. So that is the honest version. Real numbers and all. Pay a fair, competitive wage. Pay it on time every single time. Treat the person like the teammate they genuinely are. And this turns into one of the best decisions you can make for a small business, for you and for them both. If you do want to hire someone yourself, the site that I use is called onlinejobs.ph, and I have put a link to it down in the description. One quick disclosure, that is an affiliate link, which means if you sign up through it, it helps support this channel at no extra cost to you at all. You are never obligated to use it. If this was useful and you want more honest breakdowns of how a small operation actually runs day to day, then subscribe and follow along, because I have got a lot more of this coming. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.